States, there's hundreds of these tax deed auctions happening every single year. Most of you guys have just walked past them without knowing that they are incredible opportunities to actually get deeds. So let's look at tax deed auctions. And tax deed auctions is that strategy that we want to share today. It's an awesome strategy, particularly for land. Now let's make sure you guys know. Tax deed strategies is no longer the secret strategy out there. There's lots of people teaching this. There's courses on it. There's all kinds of stuff about it. We're not going to do that. We're not about to come out with a tax deed course or anything like that. Forget about that stuff. Instead, here's the thing. Like the reality is, if you go to a tax deed auction of a big city where they have 300, 400, 500 properties for sale, it's a freaking bloodbath. It is high competition, people bidding these properties up to the wazoo. But, so why am I sharing this? Because there's still a way that you can get pieces of land for up to 90 cents below market value, basically for 10 or 20 or 30 cents on the dollar. Number one, you want to focus on an asset class that most people at these auctions are not focusing on, and that is land. Most people attending these auctions want a house. They want to go to the auction and they're hoping that they get this beautiful house with a white picket fence around it, that they can get that house for 50 cents on the dollar or for 30 cents on the dollar or even 70 cents on the dollar, right? And that's where all the competition goes. People, however, leaving, because 98% of all real estate investors are house investors, they're leaving the land off to the side. So the first thing is focus on land, not houses, and you automatically get better discounts. Number two is focus on more rural areas. Because in the city, a lot of these tax deed investors are simply lazy. They come up, they see like, oh, San Diego County has a tax deed auction. There's 350 properties coming up. I live in San Diego. Let me go drive down there. Great. But what if a county, 2 counties over from San Diego, has a tax deed auction? They're too lazy to drive an hour and attend that auction. Nowadays, you can actually also attend them online, but they're like, why would I want to buy something over there? They don't understand the market. They only want to buy in the city. They don't want to buy outside the city. So rule number 2 is go outside of the cities, go into the more rural areas. And then rule number 3, because first of all, values are lower, so your dollar goes higher, goes further. Number 2, there's less competition, there's less people there. Number 3, the bids are way lower, because like probably 3 years of property taxes on a $30,000 property is only $2,000. So you basically minimum bid starts as $2,000, and if nobody else shows up, you can buy this property for $2,000. And so on and so forth. And then afterwards, once you have that, you figure out which properties are available. You then estimate their value and you register for the auction and you attend. So with that said, who would like to see a demo of how this actually works? Who would like me to do a live demonstration of how this works, guys? Give me a heck yes.
Heck yes, right? We're ready.
Okay, let's go. Live demonstration. Part 1. And I actually brought a Christmas hat too, just too small. I think it's our dog's Christmas hat. I don't know if I should wear that or not. Anyway, so let's go here. So let's pick a state in Florida. Now, Florida is a weird state because Florida is actually both a tax lien and a tax deed state. That's the only state that's like that. Other than that, outside of Florida, every other state is either a tax lien or a tax deed state. Again, in the lien state, they're just basically when the property taxes become delinquent, they're selling your property taxes to somebody else. Somebody else pays your property taxes, and then that person eventually can foreclose down the road on their property. Not what we're talking about here today. The tax deed states, nobody pays for the property taxes until a few years pass, and then they put it up on the auction. Florida is a weird state in that...
And they're not auctioning off the taxes. They're actually auctioning off the property.
Exactly. Florida is a weird state in that it's a tax lien state, but at the end, the way you foreclose on the lien is by still putting it up on an auction. So it's both a tax lien and a tax deed state. In this case, we're going to use the tax deed characteristics of the state to make money. So first of all, we're going to look at an rural area. Now, I don't want to be in the middle of absolutely nowhere, but let's see. So here's Orlando, here's Tampa. In between is a county that's called Polk County. So let's say this, and look at that county. It's quite rural. I mean, it has some areas out there with population, but there's lots of rural areas around here in that area. All right, in that county. So when we now put Polk County, the next thing I do, and I've prepared that obviously for time reasons, you go pull up Google and you say Polk County, Florida tax deed sales. You just simply go do a search. And when you do that, when you do that search, what comes up is right, the very first link is polkcountyclerk.net tax deeds. Well, you click on that, and where you get to is the clerk of the county, court and controller, Polk County, official tax deed sale. There's training on how to use it. Actually, there's a tax deals process. It tells you how the process works there. And then there's a calendar. And let's say we are on December 2nd right now, 2024. And there's an auction coming up on December 19th. So just 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks and 2 days from now, this is something every single one of you can implement right now. Right now, you go there. So if you click on that, you basically up comes the list of these properties. And you look at it, there's a whole bunch of properties up there, each of them with what is the opening bid? $1,973 for this property. It's a case number, it says tax deed, and there's a link. Now, if you click on that link, you go over to the Polk County Property Appraiser, which tells you a little bit about this property. And it tells you that this property is owned by David Wine, right? That he lives in Houston, Texas, so he's an out-of-state owner. We love that because he doesn't have, apparently either he's passed away or David Wine doesn't care about this property anymore, doesn't want it anymore. It's 12.97 acres. It's an unplatted tract of part of 29 acres. It is at an assessed value. Quickly, let me see if there's anything here. Of sale price of $100, which means nothing. Assessed value is $37,000. Guys, you heard me just say, what is the minimum bid? $1,973. That's like less than 5% of market value is the opening bid. Now, is it going to end up at that? Well, it depends on how many people show up. But again, people are lazy. If that auction would be in Orlando, 500 people would show up. If that auction would be in Tampa, 500 people would show up. But who is going to go to Lakeland or Lakeland and attend the auction there? Right? Or who is going to even be interested in Lakeland? Because people focus on the cities. Right? Right here is the property. It's on a road. You see that we're in a rural area here. But let me ask you, who wouldn't want to have who would like to have 12 acres out in beautiful Florida, perhaps an hour away from the city, right? So this looks great. There's some trees on there. There's a little bit of a water feature going through here, so probably a little bit of a river or creek. But on 12 acres, there's plenty of place to do something great. We just figured out a property that we can go on. So now, what's the next thing that we'll do? Well, the next thing is very simply. Right? The next thing is very simple. You go back to the county website here. You go here to sales process. Here's the sales process. And somewhere here you must do your own research. Like the money is then due within 24 hours. That's an important thing. So when you attend tax deed auctions, you have to pay for the property. You can't just put them on a contract for 6 months. So you got to do your due diligence ahead of time. But therefore, you also get properties for 5 or 10 or 20 cents on the dollar. Now, let's look at that property in Florida. If you can get that $37,000 property. Now, in Florida, if a property is appraised at $37,000, it's probably worth about $42,000. The assessed value is about 85-90% of market value. So add about 10% to that. It's another $3,700. So we're like $41,000. What if you could get a $41,000 property for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, somewhere between, let's say if it gets up to 20%, 25% of market value. So you can get the deal for $5,000, $6,000. Can you make money with that right away? Yes. The answer is yes, guys. The answer is yes, right? So right here, we've shown you a way to get 2 weeks from now, a deal on a contract for a deal not on a contract. But in this case, you have to pay him very quickly, right? No, the answer is heck yes. There we go, Juan. There you got that right. The answer is heck yes. Right there, you get a deal. Even if the bidding goes to $10,000, is that still a smoking deal? Yes. Now, the downside is you have to have the money.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not a problem, because when you work in our universe, there's people around that actually will JV with you. There's people that will give you the money. If you become the the person that finds an amazing deal, then make sure you have the money organized before. Make sure you talk to somebody before. Make sure you do the due diligence before, because again, once you bid on this property, you become the winning bidder, you have to buy it. If you don't fulfill of it, you get banned from the auction. Yeah. Right, so you can't attend that auction in the future anymore. So just make sure that you know that. So therefore, have the money lined up. Find a money partner, or make sure you have those things available to you. But then once you have it, if it's worth 40, you get it for 5, 6, or even 10. Could you not just turn around and sell it for $25,000 on the market to somebody who wants to have a homestead, 12 acres, an hour away from Tampa, an hour away from Orlando? I mean, that's a dream come true. That's a dream come true. There's Facebook groups with 1.5 million people that are all about creating a homestead that it's not too far away from the city, but at the same time, peace and quiet for them.
Yeah.
Boom. We're talking about a tax deed auction. In a tax deed auction, you're not bidding on liens. You're bidding on the actual properties. In the United States, there's 50% of the states that do a lien auction where you indeed bid on the lien, and then you have to own the lien for a few years and you have to foreclose on it. And 50% of them where you actually bidding on the property, which are tax deed states. In Florida, in this example, is actually both, but we looked at the tax deed auction where you actually are buying the deed to the property. Point being is, this is right at your fingertips. All you need to do is follow the simple rules. The rule is, number one, focus on rural counties or counties in the path of growth, but outside of larger cities, because in the larger cities, there is going to be 500 people attending these auctions. Focus on land parcels, because 98% of people focus on houses. Focus on auctions where land parcel have low minimum bids. $40,000 piece of land in Florida for a minimum bid of $1,900. Get a list of these properties, right? Then filter out the land properties, or identify the land properties, identify the ones that they're interested in, then do your research on them, because you gotta pay for them within 24 hours.
And
right?
have before you go into the auction, have already what your maximum, bid is going to be. Don't run into auction fever, Yeah. You're gonna do your research and you're like, okay, based on my research of what properties are worth in the area and what I can estimate to sell them for, this is the maximum that I'm willing to pay so that I can guarantee X amount of profit, and also so that spread is high enough so that in case you need to drop the price as you're trying to market this property, that you're not stuck with this property. I want to say also that all property, whatever might look like junk to you, is someone else's treasure. So we are able to sell landlocked properties as long as we buy them cheap enough. Yeah. So
there's nothing wrong with those. Yeah.
Exactly. Or you can sell those to the neighbors, like Jack said. I mean, 30% of our properties already are being sold to neighbors. And in the situation of landlocked, they're the perfect buyers for you.
Especially if you get landlocked properties, might be the one kind of property that you could also look at in bigger cities. Because often people shy away from them, so you can get them at tremendous discounts. And if they're in bigger cities, they could be worth a lot. And then if you become the problem solver that actually takes a landlocked property and solves it and gets and arranges access to it by getting an easement from the neighbor or something, you can unlock $100,000 in some cases in value on these kind of properties. But that's a little bit more advanced. But yeah, if you can get the landlocked property for 5 cents on the dollar, go for it, because you can the neighbor is always going to buy it. Some neighbor is going to always buy it for you for 25, 30 cents on the dollar. Yeah. In 99% of all cases these days, you can bid online. Now, when Michelle and I started, we had to actually drive out there and attend in person. Or we had to put pre-signed absentee bids out there. Yeah. Put in an envelope, bid, here's our maximum amount, and then we would bid up, then we would get them. But we have been using this strategy for 20 plus years, guys. Just not teaching it other than in our coaching program, because in our coaching program, we get everything we teach, right? But we've been teaching this. So our cookie cutter strategy, which is direct mail, which is cold calling, texting based, where you can get 60 deals a month under contract, or whatever it is, 10 deals, 20 deals, 50 deals, whatever number of deals you want. It's just a matter of, it's a numbers game. It's just a mathematical calculation. You want 100 deals? You send out enough letters, you do enough cold calling, you do enough texting, you get 100 deals under contract. This is not a strategy for that. This is a strategy that we have over the years always used to actually
kept in our back pocket.
Kept in our back pocket and
for
and
Christmas,
just
Christmas
add
money.
it and just add it when we find a really cool deal. Like that 12.9 acre parcel would be an amazing deal to do right here. And every one of these auctions usually has a couple of those kind of deals. So it's something that we've been doing here and there, something that we're doing on an ongoing basis, something that we're doing when we feel like it, when the big auction's coming up. Because also in some states, they don't have monthly auctions. No. Like in California, they might only have, each area might only have 2 auctions a year. Yeah. So it's something that you do when it comes up. And in other states, they have an auction every month.
Yeah.
Right? So Texas, Florida has auctions typically every month. These auctions are happening literally all over the country and once a month. So you probably, by searching around a little bit, you can literally find auctions that are happening this week.
Yeah.
Bottom line though is, there's about 22 or 23 states in the United States that do tax deed auctions. Some do only a couple of auctions a year, some do them monthly. In other words, there's hundreds of these tax deed auctions happening every single year. And you guys, most of you guys have just walked past them without knowing that there are incredible opportunities to actually get deeds.